Before we dive in, what I'm about to share could completely change the way you see your relationship. Now, listen closely, because most men never notice these subtle, soul-crushing signs until it's too late. I want you to imagine this. You've been with someone for months, maybe years, and you start feeling this nagging emptiness, this invisible distance. You brush it off at first, telling yourself it's stress, work, or maybe you're just overthinking. But deep down, you know something has shifted, and that shift, it's rarely random. There are behaviors, changes in energy, in touch, in the way she interacts with you that can reveal a truth most men are blind to. A truth thought terrifies them. She may have slept with someone else. I know how it sounds. Painful, settling, but I'm here to help you see clear without the rose-colored glasses that keep you blind. One of the first things men overlook is the sudden emotional distance. It's not just a mood swing, it's a subtle withdrawal. A woman who has shared intimacy with another person may unconsciously build walls around you. She becomes quieter, less playful, even less responsive. It's not that she doesn't love you, at least not entirely, but something in her has shifted. Our instinct might be screaming, but you've been trained to ignore it. There's changes in intimacy. Not just frequency, though that often drops, but quality, the warmth, the eye contact, the way she responds to your talk, all of that can feel mechanical. Almost like she's performing rather than connecting. You might chalk it up to stress or fatigue, but men pay attention. The body never lies. Micro-expressions, tiny hesitations, small withdrawals. They reveal more than words ever will. And let's talk about communication patterns. Suddenly, there are secrets, little white lies about where she's been, who she's been with, or why she can't be reached. You might notice her phone habits changing, her notifications suddenly private, or her loader fading when you ask questions. These aren't coincidences. These are warning signs screaming at you, and ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It makes the inevitable hurt track even sharper. Men, this emotional intelligence is critical. You need to observe, to feel to detect subtle shifts that most dismiss. Don't wait for evidence you'll regret discovering later. The signals are there if you have the courage to see them. Let's get deeper, because this is where most men completely fail. The first signs are often not obvious. They're buried in behavioral patterns you've probably been conditioned to ignore. Pay attention to how she moves around Yono. It's subtle. Maybe she used to be animated, full of energy when you wear a together. Now she's withdrawn, distracted, almost preoccupied, as if part of her mind is somewhere else. Entirely. This isn't random. It's psychological imprint. When a woman shares intimacy with another man, it doesn't vanish when she's with you. It leaves a trace. Another sign is changes in her grooming or appearance, but in an unusual way. You'd expect attention to her look to increase if she's interested. But sometimes after being with someone else, a woman may consciously alternate between extremes. Maybe she's sudden live or competence, dressing more carefully hand you around while ignorant grutins she once valued. These small and concise shifts aren't vanity. They're signals of inner conflict. She's managing guilt, secrecy, and curiosity at once. And it shows in how she presents herself. Pay attention to her odor and affection, too. Men tend to notice the big things. Yelling, fighting, cheating, but miss the micro changes. The jokes feel hollow. The touches feel delayed or rehearsed. That spark, the effortless playfulness Thaden's existed dims. She's still there physically, but her emotional bandwidth is split. You feel it without being a blotto name it. And that's what's dangerous. Denial becomes easy, but pain becomes inevitable. Here's another red flag. Most men never recognize. Defensiveness over trivial things. Small, harmless questions evenly trigger irritation. Innocent curiosity becomes interrogations in her eyes. She's not just stressed. She's protecting something. That defensiveness, a shield for guilt, for secrecy. For something she doesn't want you to know, and no, it's not always conscious. The human mind is clever at hiding things even from itself. Finally, notice how she talks about the future. Does she avoid long-term planning or comet mentiscutions? A subtle retreat in emotional investment in conversations about us is often a sign she's mentally exploring alternatives, even if she hasn't explicitly acted on them yet. Men, this is not paranoia. This is strategy. The mind and heart work together to process even if it hurts you. If you feel unease, pay attention. Your intuition is sharper than you think. These small signals, when combined, create a mosaic of truth most men ignore until it's too late. And that ignorance, it costs more than heartbreak. It costs your self-respect. Now, let's talk about what she says and what she doesn't say. Words are powerful, but silence can be even more telling. Men often focus on big fights or admissions, but the truth hides in verbal patterns, hesitation, and avoidance. Does she avoid answering direct questions about her day? Or does she over-explain, giving too many details that feel rehearsed? Both extremes are warning signs. Overcompensation can be guilt trying to cover itself, while avoidance is secrecy manifesting. Notice the way she jokes around. Humorous, one of the most revealing windows into a person's mind. If she laughs at your humor, or her laughter feels delayed, forced, or absent entirely, it's not because she doesn't care. It's because part of her emotional energy has shifted elsewhere. That spark, that lightness you loved, fades because it's been partially redirected and you feel it deep down. But society tells men tone your intuition and trust words instead. That's a mistake. Another verbal clue is frequent vague reference to friends or other commitments. She might mention people in passing, always without detail. Or she suddenly has late nights and unexplained absences. It's not paranoia. It's noticing a pattern in her storytelling. When you cross-check small inconsistencies in her narrative, the truth becomes clearer. Subtle contradictions matter more, think admissions. Also pay attention to tone shifts when intimacy or closeness is approaching. If she suddenly becomes quiet, shifts her eyes, or tenses physically when you try to get close, these are subconscious signals. Men often dismiss them as mood swings, but your body recognizes micro-expressions, or your mind can rationalize them. This tension, small, almost imperceptible, is a sign of internal conflict and secrecy. And here's the one most men miss completely. Changes in how she talks about the past. Memory status to be shared openly now, get brushed aside or minimized. Certain topics, trigger avoidance or defensiveness, she might even rewrite little events. Not maliciously, but subconsciously, to protect a secret memory or prevent it from surfacing. These are breadcrumbs. Men who follow them often see the truth long before confrontation. Finally, your own emotional response, Isa, clue. Anxiety, irritation, subtleties. These feelings are your subconscious, picking up what your conscious mind refuses to face. Don't ignore it. Your instinct is a radar. It never fails if you learn to interpret it correctly. Men, when you start noticing these verbal and emotional signals together, patterns emerge. They aren't coincidences. They are a roadmap to reality that most men refuse to see until the damage is done. And by then, regret has already rooted itself deep. Let's get even sharper, because now we're entering territory most men never notice. Physical and behavioral microsigns. These are the subtle cues your mind may dismiss, but your body and your gut never forgets. Men, pay attention. Women leave unconscious traces of their experiences. Even when they think no one sees, one of the first microsigns is changes in physical affection patterns. It's no delays about less intimacy. It's about quality and timing. Notice if her touch feels mechanical or delayed. Notice if she avoids eye contact during intimatements, or if she suddenly becomes preoccupied when your hands wander. Thebody betrays memory. If she slept with someone else, her body carries new experiences that subtly alter how she rocks to you. That tension, the hesitation, is invisible to most men. But it's screaming truth to those who watch closely. Another red flag is sudden changes in daily routines. Maybe she starts leaving the house more often. or changing her schedule without explanation. Small habits like longer showers, nuisance, different bedtime patterns can indicate subconscious preparation to hide traces. It's not always intentional deception. Often, it's just her mind unconsciously adjusting. Garden secrets she doesn't consciously want to admit. Watch how she reacts to your curiosity. Ask a simple question about their day or her friends, and see how she responds. Does she deflect, change the subject, offer vague, over-detailed explanation? These are classic behavioral defenses. They're subtle, almost invisible. But they'll leave a pattern you can track if you're paying attention. There's also a psychological layer. Mood fluctuations, tied to guilt or secrecy. You'll notice small irritations, sudden withdrawals, or emotional disconnects that weren't there before. These aren't random. They are her subconscious linked with dual experiences. And our intuition will feel it long before words ever confirm it. Finally, men look at her interactions with others, especially mutual friends or strangers. Subtle flirtations. Careful monitoring of her words or defensive behavior when others are mentioned often indicates she's guarding a secret. It's not always deliberate cheating. Sometimes it's the mind trying to reconcile experiences and emotions she hasn't processed. When you start connecting these behavioral dots with emotional and verbal signs you've already noticed, a pattern emerges. It's not paranoia, it's observation. Ignoring it will cost you more than pain. It will cost clarity, self-respect, and that chance to make decisions before betrayal solidifies. Men, reality is never kind, but clarity saves you. Learning to read these cues, micro shifts in body language, routines, and subtle reactions, is how you reclaim your awareness before your heart pays the price. Now, let's move into territory many men avoid because it feels invasive. But pay close attention because your relationship may depend on it. I'm talking about digital and indirect signs. Phones, messages, social media, and subtle social behaviors often reveal more truth than words ever will. Men, the reality is this. Even the most careful secrecy leaves fingerprints, and your awareness can catch them before it's too late. The first digital sign is sudden secrecy with her phone or devices. Maybe she always left her phone on the table before, sharing laughs over notifications. Now, it's always face down, password locked or hidden. Small changes in behavior around technology are rarely accidental. Guilt and subconscious protection trigger these shifts, and your intuition will feel them even if your mind tells you it's normal. Another indicator is changes in texting or online behavior. Does she respond differently to you than she used to? Shorter replies, long delays, or excessive explanations can reveal mental preoccupation elsewhere, even when she's physically present. Her attention may be partially elsewhere, often tied to someone you don't know about. Men dismiss this because it's subtle, but combined with emotional and behavioral shifts, it becomes a glaring red flag. Look at her social media patterns. Overly curated posts, sudden blocks, or private interactions with new friends can indicate hidden intimacy. It's not always explicit, but the energy behind these actions matters. You don't need to spy. You need to observe changes in patterns you once understood because a disruption is always a signal. Then there's indirect emotional signs tied to digital behavior. Does she get defensive ever? Casual questions about friends or time away from you? Does she sudden lie over companions with gifts, compliments, or attention? These are unconscious additives to soothe guilt or hide inner conflict. Men often mistake this for affection or generosity, but your emotional radar knows the difference. Finally, notice her reactions to boundaries and closeness. She mesodinly avoid discussions about commitment, future plans, or intimacy. She may even minimize your relationship's emotional weight when prompted. This isn't paranoia. It's a protective mechanism. Her subconscious staffing choices or experiences she hasn't shared. Men, these digital and indirect signs, when combined with emotional, verbal, and behavioral cues, create a clear picture of reality. Ignoring them is choosing blissful ignorance. But seeing them gives you power to protect yourself, to claim clarity, and to act before heartbreak hits. Now, let's confront that truth that most men refuse to face. These are the ultimate psychological red flags, signs that pierce through denial, illusions, and hope. Men, the most dangerous thing in a relationship isn't conflict. It's ignorance disguised as love. If you've noticed emotional withdrawal, verbal hesitations, micro-behavioral shifts, and digital secrecy, the final layer is here. The patterns that confirm what your gut already knows. First, notice her emotional investment or lack thereof. When a woman has shared intimacy with someone else, her mind and heart are never fully present with you. She may physically be here, but psychologically she's divided. Conversations feel shallow. Laughter feels distant. Affection is inconsistent. Men don't confuse familiarity with connection. True connection radiates effortlessly, and when it's absent, the mind knows before the heart admits it. Next, observe her reactions under stress or confrontation. If small, honest questions trigger disproportionateness or subtle hostility, it's not just mood. She's guarding something she hopes you'll never discover. This isn't always conscious, but the human psyche leaves traces. Men who see this early can prevent years of heartbreak. Pay attention to patterns over time, notice isolated incidents. A single lie or a single moment of withdrawal is not proof, but repetition. Layering of emotional shifts, secretiveness, and behavioral inconsistencies, that's a map of reality most men refuse to read. Ignoring it doesn't erase it. It intensifies the emotional damage when the truth finally emerges. Another critical red flag is her energy around intimacy. Not just physical touch, but emotional closeness. A woman who has divided attention may unconsciously distance herself, hesitating affection, or appear present wilding emotionally elsewhere. Men, your intuition will feel this as tension, unease, and subtle frustration. It's your mind signaling what your eyes cannot always see. Finally, the hardest truth. Denial is costly. You can rationalize, explain away, and hope, but reality doesn't bend to desire. The signs are there if you're willing to observe, accept, and act. Recognition destroys love. It saves respect, dignity, and emotional well-being. Men, this is not about paranoia. It's a boot mastery of perception. Learn to read the micro signs, the verbal nuances, the behavioral patterns, and the emotional distance. Observe without judgment. Trust your gut. Protect yourself emotionally before heartbreak finds you unprepared. This knowledge, painful as it is, gives you clarity, power, and the ability to navigate relationships with eyes wide open. The truth is harsh, but embracing it is what separates men who survive heartbreak from men who repeat. Thanks for watching. If you found like this video, please press the bell icon and subscribe to my channel.